Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/spookshow. Then go over to morbidlybeautiful.com as we are now part of the Morbidly Beautiful Podcasting Network.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
You'll too! You'll too! You'll too!
Everybody here dies by dawn. Dead by dawn!
Welcome to the Spook Show. Hello, and welcome to the latest All-American Spook Show podcast. I'm Josh, and I'm joined here with Donnie, Tiana, and the Professor Smoke.
What's up?
And I felt this was my choice in the rotation. It was my turn this week. And I decided, I know it's a little late to the party, but I figured it was good timing to get to this one because of the latest release. Alien Romulus came out. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, wait a minute, we've never done any of the Alien movies here on the show. So let's just go straight to the top. Let's go Alien 1979 and do the original one. You know, maybe it's a spoiler, I'm not sure, but you said you being Tiana and the Professor, you guys have seen the new Alien Romulus, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and this one, you said this one, basically this new one comes like almost right after this original Alien?
About 20 years
after
after the first Alien movie.
So this is appropriate timing to watch this if you haven't seen the original in a while. Which I would imagine, if you're going to see Alien Romulus, you've probably seen this fucking movie 100 times like we have, right? So, not a stretch. But I figured it was a good time to swing back around and watch it again. It's been a while. And it's one of those weird anomalies that we are almost 6 years into the Spook Show, Smoke, and we've never watched an Alien movie.
I know, it's weird. It's like something else recently. What was the other thing that's recently come up that we had never gotten around to? I can't recall.
It took us a while to get to, like, say, some John Carpenter and there's been some others.
Oh, yeah. Lucio Fulci. We finally did City of the Living Dead. I mean, I know I'd done, Zombie on the Grindhouse, but as far as the show proper, we finally got around to doing Fulci, however many episodes back that was that we did City of the Living Dead.
Yeah, that was...
AKA The Gates of Hell.
I want to say that was back... like in spring or something when we did City of the Living Dead. I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, it was earlier this year. But yeah, before we dive into this one, I'll go ahead and throw out some of the usuals. You can go to aaspookshow.com. From there, you can listen to all of our past podcast archives. You can find those pretty easily there. You can also find our YouTube channel where every month, just about every week, every month, we have new series including Grindhouse Gutter, Video Vortex, Hammer Horror and Order. So lots of stuff to watch over on our YouTube channel. So we encourage you to go over there, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified, all that jazz. You know how YouTube works at this point, for God's sake. Help us out. Go watch the channel. Go watch these videos. We don't need more Emmanuel 4 being one of the highest viewed videos we have on our YouTube. Please, go watch some other stuff and help us out here, right, Donnie?
Yeah.
I mean, I know Emmanuel 4 was one of your favorites, but have some mercy on the rest of us.
Dread.
But you can go to our aaspookshow.com, find that from there. And we also encourage you to become a patron of the Spook Show by going to patreon.com/aaspookshow. You can also get there from aaspookshow.com as well. If you become a patron, every month you're going to get a video minisode that includes the Library of the Professor segments, which those are always cool. And then the thing that's not so cool, Crapster Peace Theater every month. It might be cool for you to listen to it, the torture that we have to go through, but not for us to have to do it. We got to watch a piece of shit movie that y'all vote for, and you have a knack, you, the listener and the viewer, have a knack for picking the biggest piles of crap for the most part. So congratulations, I guess. I don't know. But if you ever voted on those polls, you owe it to us to go check those out. And you can only listen to those every month by becoming a patron at patreon.com/aaspookshow. So without further build up, we'll toss to the trailer for Alien.
Attention to the crew of the commercial vessel Nostromo. A word of warning. A word of warning. A word of warning. Alien. Coming this summer to a theater near you.
All right, so there you go. That's the trailer for that. So, I mean, obviously, I know this is one that we've all seen 100 times. So, Donnie, we can start with you. What's your history with Alien, and do you remember, like, say, the first time or so that you watched this movie?
So I remember I first watched it. I was about 12 or so, and I was kind of digging all of the horror movies, or just the ones that I had watched at that time. And then I hadn't yet got to Alien. It was actually my sister that mentioned. She's like, "Oh, you like this? Here, check this out."
You like UHF? Check this out. What?
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's usually the pecking order. For me, I don't remember. I don't remember the first time I watched this. I really don't. Like, probably around the same time as you, Donnie.
Yeah.
Age-wise, give or take, maybe. I might have watched it sooner than that. I don't know. There's also this thing, too, and then I'll let you guys get into it. To me, this is definitely a horror movie, but I think for the longest time, I just kind of saw this as a sci-fi movie in my head. I didn't think horror. I was just like, oh, this is just a really cool sci-fi movie. Then it wasn't until later on that, like, I guess maybe it clicked in my head, and then I heard somebody else say, oh, yeah, this is one of the best horror movies of all time. I'm like, yeah, it is a horror movie. I don't know why I disconnected like that, but Tiana, what about you?
Oh, I was pretty young.
You look
my
almost,
dad had it on in the background.
You look almost traumatized by it. I was too young to be watching.
It came out the year I was born, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, my dad watched it a lot, so it was on, in the background. So I'm not sure. I was probably like 10 or so.
Yeah.
Actually just sitting there watching it.
Yeah. So roughly about our age, same age. So what about you,
Yeah.
Slim?
I don't really recall. I was trying to rack my brain on when did I see this, and I don't remember the exact year. I know, of course, I didn't see it in the theater originally, but we've seen it I think twice in the theater since then, in reruns, and replays, whatever, in the theater. But I don't remember. Probably one of the movie channels back in the mid '80s, I guess. I know that I saw it before Aliens came out in 1986, so probably somewhere around 80, 84 maybe, or something like that I saw it the first time. And it made an impact on me at that time. And we'll get into thoughts on it more as we go along. But I mean, it's I can watch it over and over again, and like I said, we saw it in the theater twice, and watched it again for this. And I don't know, we've probably seen this movie at least 5 times in the last couple of years. I
can't even begin to tell you how many times I've seen this movie, but I want to say I also saw this at a theater, I believe many years ago, when there used to be a local theater in the Charlotte area that used to play they would play retro movies, but they were actually playing like old 35 millimeter prints, not just like a digital, not just somebody popping a Blu-ray in and here, let's watch it on the screen. This was like a print. And I remember it being scratched all to hell. Like it was just beat up. I remember watching Jaws like that too, but I'm pretty sure that I went and saw this, on one of the old scratched up prints. But yeah, this movie, I mean, I don't even want to get into how many times I've seen this one. This one, by far, I will say more than any of the other in this franchise.
Well, for me, it might tie Aliens. I've probably seen both of them about the same amount of times ish.
I've seen this one more, but I have seen Aliens a few times myself. But I think this one's still probably more. Probably because it's just older. Maybe, I don't know, for whatever reasons. But
yeah.
I guess that's a good enough time to point out that this spawned like a massive fucking franchise, right? Surprise, surprise. This movie came out May 25th, 1979, and its sequel, believe it or not, was what is that? 7 years. I'm not quick with the math. That's about 7 years later, 1986. Aliens comes out July 18th, 1986. That's directed by James Cameron. Boy, you can't. The first 3 in this series, you got 2 massive directors, right? Like Ridley Scott did this one that we're talking about today. James Cameron did the second one, Aliens, and then Alien 3, which came out May 22nd of 1992, was directed by David Fincher. Boy, that's a fucking murderer's row, right?
Yeah. I think David Fincher maybe wasn't known much at all by that time, but he would definitely become known once he did 7 and then Zodiac. Right?
Yeah. Crazy. But then after that, the 4th one was called Alien Resurrection. That came out in November of 1997. Then the 5th one was Prometheus. So that now you fast forward from 97 to 2012, and this is kind of like not necessarily a reboot, but let's kind of go back in the story, right? And let's talk about some different aspects of the Alien story here with Prometheus. And that came out June 8th, 2012. Also done by Ridley Scott. He came back to the franchise with that. And then the next one, Alien Covenant, which came out May 19th of 2017. And then now you're up to current, which we talked about off the top, Alien Romulus, which came out August 16th, 2024, directed by Fede Alvarez, who didn't he not do the remake of Evil Dead, correct?
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. So Donnie, I just gave you one of the connections if you wanted to dig around, but yeah. But yeah, I really loved that remake of the Evil Dead. So if nothing else, I'm looking forward to seeing. I haven't seen Romulus yet. I'm looking forward to seeing it just for that reason alone. Not that. I know we talked about it. Smoke, you and Tiana have seen it. You don't have to give your ratings and all your pure thoughts, but what did y'all think of the new one? Since we got a moment to talk about it.
Yeah, I think it's first of all, what you'll notice is the cinematography and everything. They did a great job with making it fit into the time period it's supposed to be in between the Alien and Aliens movies. So that was amazing, especially considering I believe the budget was only only 81 million. That's a lot, but I mean, it's not as much for a big budget special effects laden Hollywood film, So, I mean, that's fairly modest these days when it comes to how many effects were in this movie. So, but again, they did a great job with that too. And I'll let you go on. What do you think? Some of the actors and things.
Good. The actors, they're all newer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think the android, right? I can't remember the actor's name. The guy who played the android in this one is probably the standout acting role in the movie because of, without giving away plot details, let's just say he starts off a certain way and then his acting has to go in a different route because of certain reasons. And I think he did a great job at that. And some of the other actors, the girl, and I'm terrible with names, especially when it's newer actors and actresses without looking at the name right in front of me. But the main actress in the movie, she's well enough, she's got to jump in here and go kind of from point A to point B pretty fast. It's not like Sigourney Weaver where she had alien to aliens to hone her, Ripley character or whatever. Yeah. Kind of like Linda Hamilton from Terminator to Terminator 2 had the story arc. Well, the girl in this movie kind of has to go there a little bit faster, which is typical for modern movies these days. They just push it right out there real fast, right? But it's fine enough. And then some of the other actors are just kind of, they aren't really written necessarily all that. One's kind of annoying, but I mean he's supposed to be this type of character, right? But overall, I guess they're good. It's just modern cinema these days. They don't necessarily write a lot of characters that stand out.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. You don't think of them in that way, like you think of like Aliens, where you had Bill Paxton, and Sigourney Weaver, of course, and Lance, and I mean character actors and things like that. You don't, and it's not a fault of this movie. It's just the way modern kind of filmmaking is these days.
Yeah.
They don't really write those types of standout characters as they used to. I guess they kind of have them fade in the background and not take too much away from the main, actors. I guess.
But
overall, we enjoyed it. We definitely enjoyed it.
So at the end of it, like you do recommend going and checking it out.
Yeah, definitely recommend going to see it especially if you like those. If you really love those first two Alien movies, it fits perfectly in there.
Yeah.
Oh, those last 20 minutes, your mouth will drop.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it's got an interesting, different thing going on there. Kind of like all of them, the kind of Alien movies sort of have their little twists or something different, right? Something that you haven't really seen before. So that this movie is no different. It has that aspect as well. So yeah, we definitely would recommend going to see it if you're a fan of the Alien franchise. Now I don't know, maybe later on when we get to the next movie, to Aliens or something, and maybe if we've seen this one again, kind of figure out where it fits in the movies we've already discussed. The ones we didn't discuss, which aren't part of the canon, Alien canon, is the Alien versus Predator movies, right?
Yeah. Now those are worth mentioning because I was just talking about that lineage of movies. And it goes from 1997 to 2012, right, between Alien Resurrection and Prometheus. So you're like, what took them so long? What were they doing? That's what they were doing. They made Alien versus Predator that came out in 2004, and then Aliens versus Predator Requiem, which came out in 2007. I remember liking those fine enough for what they were, but it was so much different from what I felt like you enjoyed about either one of them that I didn't. It's not one I go back and revisit. I remember in 04 and 07, it's fine. It's fine enough. But, they're not ones you're going to go probably beat down the doors to go watch again, right?
No, that was just the thing that was going on. Remember in the comics industry first, right? There was a whole bunch of people that wanted to see this happened because it was happening in the comics.
Yeah, 'cause you're not long after Freddy
on.
versus Jason, right? When that comes out.
Yeah, yeah. So there's people that want it. I mean, I remember watching them. I haven't seen them since that when each one of them first came out. I just remember one of them. Also, it didn't help that I was watching it on a projection, old school projection, big screen TV. Which you got to have low light source to really watch those TVs. Remember the old school projection TVs? So,
oh yeah.
And I remember one of those movies being super dark as far as the cinematography, and that just threw me off the whole thing. I could hardly see what the hell was going on, especially on that projection TV, even when the lights turned out. So, I mean, I don't remember which one that was, but I remember liking one of them better than the other ones. Okay,
Probably, if I had to guess, just off the top of my memory, you probably like the first one more than the second one. That'd be my guess.
Probably was, yeah.
Because I think like any of these kind of things, it starts going downhill real quick. So it was like
the
first one's like tolerable, and then the second one's like, okay, what the fuck? What are we doing? Just go back to the normal story here, please.
And you can tell why they're not canon because from memory, like I said, it's been a while since I've seen them. The first one was kind of isolated, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it in an isolated type area? Now the second one, or did they? Was one of them they were interacting with humans, right? They're like battling and stuff, and they're visible to all sorts of humans.
I get them both mixed together, but there was some subplot where like these things come here to do war or some shit like aliens come to fight predators and Earth is their battleground. Like that bullshit.
So you got all these people that are witnessing this stuff going on. So and this is supposed to be in the modern time that it came out in, whatever year those movies came out in, right?
Yeah.
So obviously I think people are going to remember xenomorphs coming to Earth. By the time you get into the future, and all of a sudden here's alien from the original one that we're doing today.
I think they had it as like cave drawings or something. Like they were just cave drawings in Aztec temples, where they came here 500 years ago or whatever it was, and then whatever. We're not going to dwell on those movies. That's look. We'll get to those eventually. I'm sure we will.
Eventually, we will have to, I guess.
Back to the good one here. Alien came out in limited release May 25th of 1979, but then was released wide June 22nd of 1979. I don't have all the full numbers on like weeks and all that stuff because you know how it is, like box office stuff. What it went up against, but it was done for a budget of $11 million and went on to a worldwide box office of $184.7 million, which is extremely impressive, especially for 1979. I mean, like, obviously you're post a Star Wars world at this point, obviously, but needless to say, probably one of the more successful movies of the 70s. Up there with Star Wars and Exorcist and a few other, Godfather maybe, and some other ones that I'm not thinking of, right? But highly
Star Trek, the
movie.
Motion Picture.
Yeah. Like, people probably shit on that movie, but it was probably successful without looking it up.
You talking about Star Trek?
Yeah, the first one. Like, I've never been a big fan of the first one, but like, it probably made a ton of dough.
Oh yeah, I think. I mean, I not to make this about that.
Yeah.
Star Trek. I enjoyed it, and I like that it was kind of different. It kind of reminded me of like, what if Stanley Kubrick or somebody like Stanley Kubrick decided to do a Star Trek movie?
Yeah,
because it kind of reminds me of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, absolutely.
Intentionally, that they were kind of going that direction to make it different than the TV series. But again, not to make this a Star Trek episode review or a movie review.
Nerd.
But and that's been your Star Trek corner with the professor and Josh. But Alien, anyways, this movie, surprise, surprise, rated R, total runtime of 1 hour and 57 minutes. Like we talked about earlier, it was directed by Ridley Scott. It was written by Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett. Dan O'Bannon, didn't he do Reanimator? Or...
He directed Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, I knew it was something like that.
Yeah. But actually, this might be a good point to, a good place to point this out as well. When he wrote this movie, like a lot of people criticized him of ripping off specific movies, this or that one or whatever. And I think his reply to that was, hey, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically I didn't rip off anybody. I ripped off everybody, meaning that there's a lot of influences in this movie, but two particular ones are The Terror from Beyond Space, 1958, with classic sci-fi movie with similar premise, and then Mario Bava's Planet of the Vampires from 1965, which I don't know if any of y'all have seen those, but at some point we'll have to get those on the show, because you can see, if you watch those, you can see direct influences to it, but also The Thing from Another World, the original one, that was a little bit of influence from that movie on this one. And so, he mentioned some other ones as well, but those are the two main ones. If you're watching this, you see those two, you can see the direct influences.
we talked about it last week, Donnie. The Smokes weren't there last week when we did Wet Hot American Summer, but I think it kind of carries over into this one with the casting stuff, right? Like you've got a great cast in this movie. Sigourney Weaver.
Oh yeah, and and honestly, it's a relatively small cast, but
I think it's that closed space type of thing, which I'm sure we'll get into that isolation, that part of it, with this movie. But I think that's why they kept it pretty tight, and that makes sense, right? Like there wouldn't be a massive,
it does,
with the story. But you've got Sigourney Weaver, and if this wasn't her first thing, it's one of her first things, right? It was at least one of the things that put her on. It is the thing that put her on the map, right? As in this character of Ripley. Tom Skerritt as Dallas, John Hurt as Kane, Veronica Cartwright as Lambert, Harry Dean Stanton as Brett, Ian Holm as Ash, Yaphet Kotto. Which have we done any Yaphet Kotto? I mean, Donnie, you got the connections. Have we ever seen Yaphet Kotto in anything yet? Because he seems like one of those dudes that was in every fucking movie, but yet somehow we haven't crossed his path yet. I don't think.
Yeah, I can say with absolute certainty we have not.
Yeah, that's crazy that we haven't done something that had something to do with Yaphet Kotto. But yeah, I mean, on IMDb, he's only in 95 movies, but it seemed like he was just in a ton of stuff back in the day. You know, he's one of the dudes that just popped up a lot. But yeah, I mean, great cast. Like you said, fairly small cast for what this is, but it's a great cast. So that helps it, makes it stand out. You know, one of the many reasons this thing stands out, that and the look and everything, but we'll get into that. Did anybody have anything else, like background-wise, that you wanted to point out before we got into it?
So I watched obviously there's probably more than one documentary on this, but I watched was it Memory, The Origins of Alien on Prime. Prior to watching this, man, it was just awesome. Highly recommended if you haven't checked it out.
What's the theme of it? It's just a making of documentary of this movie or the franchise?
It's almost like a behind the scenes behind the scenes, and there's sort of like kind of peel back the curtain into Dan O'Bannon, and his has an interview with his wife, and just kind of like
how long
a little snapshot.
How long ago did that? How old is that?
2019.
Okay, so it's fairly recent. It's not like
fairly recent.
Okay, yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I have to check that out.
Yeah, I think he passed some time ago. Well, Ian Holm as well, but
yeah, he was. What was he in Lord of the Rings? Ian Holm. Yeah. I know he was, but he was one of the.
He was
Frodo, right? No. Goddamn, the old Baggins.
Yes, the old
Bilbo.
Baggins. Yes.
It's Bilbo, right?
Bilbo
Baggins. Yeah.
This also, well, I guess, did we talk about Oscars? Like we haven't really done a whole lot of movies that I have actually won Oscars.
Yep, this is another one.
Yeah.
What did it win?
Did Jaws won an Oscar, didn't it? Or did it? Or was it just nominated?
We've had a few now. Remember Bram Stoker's Dracula, and there's a couple.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this is rare air for us where you actually, not just nominated, but actually won.
Yeah. Yeah, that's more, Cinema Nine's category.
Yeah, the Cinema Nine podcast.
Yeah, but no, this one, Oscar for Best Visual Effects.
That seems like a no-brainer.
Right?
I don't know what its competition was, but come on. There's nothing coming out in 1979 that looks as good as this. Yeah. I wouldn't think. Without seeing the list. I mean, the only thing during this time period that looks even like this cool is any of the Star Wars stuff, right? Like, nothing else. Or not much else.
Yeah, there's only one, really, because, Empire Strikes Back was the next year, right?
Yeah. But I just mean in this time period in general, there's not a lot of movies that look this good.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And still hold up even as well as this one does. There was one other random thing that I saw that I want to say it's the spaceship that, when they go and they find the alien spaceship that sent out the call or whatever, that the way it looks, that design of that thing, right, that you see, that was a thing that apparently they had it sitting out in front of a theater, maybe in Los Angeles. I don't remember exactly where it was, but I want to say it was in LA. They had it sitting out, and apparently like some Christian activist or some protesters or something destroyed it because it was sitting out there like for the movie, and then they come across and they I guess they beat the crap out of it and burned it and something, and they were saying that it's because of it symbolizes Satan or something. It's something to do with Satan is what they claimed. So they destroyed it. So this piece of movie history just got burned and the shit kicked out of it by some activists back then. But I thought that was.
Could it be Satan?
Yeah, Satan.
Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack. We promise to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, your sweet tooth. So visit our refreshment center now. Let's go.
For you, the listeners of the All-American Spook Show podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out the service. So I hopped on over to audible.com and I just typed in alien movies to see what would pop up. And we got 184 results. But right here off the top, we've got Alien, the official movie novelization by Alan Dean Foster. That one's narrated by Peter Guinness. It looks like it's Audible exclusive. And it is just over 9 hours long. Then we have Smoke, you might like this one too. Aliens, the official movie novelization. So that's the second one by the same author, narrated by William Hope. And that one is almost 10 hours long. Looks like there's a couple other novelizations, but there's definitely a number of things here. Even something to do with Aliens versus Predator. Aliens versus Predator's Ultimate Prey by Jonathan Mayberry, a few other authors. And that one's almost 13 hours long, so lots of stuff comes up. I just figured alien movies would bring up stuff about aliens and maybe a few alien books, but about this movie. But no, there's a number of things that have something to do maybe with expanding the mythology. Yeah, because there's another one here called Alien Inferno's Fall, an original novel based on the films from 20th Century Studios by Philippa Ballantine. So yeah, there's lots of cool stuff there. So if you're a big fan of the franchise like we are, any of that floats your boat, go over to audibletrial.com/spookshow. Again, that's audibletrial.com/spookshow to get your free audio book. So I'm going to hop back over to imdb.com, and as we always do, I'm going to click on plot summaries. Donnie, I'm sure there's a juicy one for you.
I quit.
To help you to help you understand this movie a little more. Let's see. Nothing crazy. There's a longer one, but like super crazy. So short one, a long one. After investigating a mysterious transmission of unknown origin, the crew of a commercial spacecraft encounters a deadly life form. That's the brief synopsis, and generally that's all you need, but we need more information. And that was provided to us by Nick Reganis over on IMDb. In cold, boundless space, AI supercomputer Mother picks up a distress signal from Acheron. Is that the name of the ship? Acheron? A barren nearby moon. Okay, it wasn't a ship, it was the moon. Bound by protocol, it awakens the 7-member crew of the commercial towing vehicle USCSS Nostromo from cryosleep. Soon as Captain Arthur Dallas and his crew descend to the inhospitable celestial body known as LV-426 to investigate the mysterious transmission, they discover a downed extraterrestrial spacecraft and its bizarre cargo. Now, dark questions loom. Was the cryptic signal a desperate SOS or a warning? Either way, something else has somehow found its way into the Nostromo, and its silent corridors will never be safe again. Who can confront the alien, the unwanted 8th passenger? Who can, Donnie? Tell us who.
What was the question?
Ripley. That's the answer. It's Ripley.
Yeah. I nodded off during the reading.
I think one thing you should start with before we dive into the movie proper is that poster. How classic is the poster for this movie?
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
All right. and it's simple too. I mean, if you think about it,
it's like
very simple concept. Just an egg and some green light and the logo, right?
I think
but just iconic. Yeah.
That green light really helps it pop, though. Because you got the the one sheet. It's black in the background. It says "Alien" at the top in white in that print that they use. That font, whatever that they use. Then it's got that egg with the light shining on the side, and then you got the green crack, kind of making a shape on the bottom of it. And then it says on the bottom, "In space, no one can hear you scream." I mean, fucking perfect, right? I mean, like if
perfect poster, perfect and simple poster, perfect tagline.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Beautiful. A class in marketing, right? Because even if you don't know, you didn't watch a trailer or anything, and let's face it, probably back in 1979, not a lot of people sitting around watching trailers, right? You probably saw something like before you went and saw a movie, and that's it. So there's probably a lot of people that poster sold this movie. They didn't, you didn't have YouTube, and you're not sitting around watching trailers like we do. So like that poster gets popped up, you're going to see that shit. If you're predisposed to these type of movies, you see that and you're like, fuck yeah, I'm in. It's 1979, motherfucker. Let's go. You know.
Also, they stand by that tagline too about the space and no sound in space. You know, there's not too many sci-fi movies that have silent space scenes because I mean, let's face it, that can be boring, right? I mean, what if Star Wars had no sound effects in space or anything? It's just, you know, that would be pretty damn boring, right? But for Alien, it works because it works on that claustrophobic.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You know, eerie, creepy sort of feeling.
You know, on IMDb, I didn't mention it because sometimes I do. They always list like action, horror, suspense, whatever this movie is. This one's got like 18 fucking tags on it. It says cyberpunk, monster horror, space sci-fi, supernatural horror, then horror and sci-fi. So yeah, it's a little bit of everything, right?
Cyberpunk, maybe.
I know. Yeah, I was trying to think.
I'm trying to think of, you know.
Well, yeah, maybe a little bit of Giger, maybe a little bit of the computerized part where it's waking up and the computer screen stuff. And I mean, there's a little bit of cyberpunk, but I mean, I think of Blade Runner and I think of cyberpunk or something like that.
Maybe
I mean,
AI before there was AI.
Yeah, before the real thing. Yeah, it was just it was a ha joke back then. Now here we
it's
are.
Reality.
We haven't actually recorded a real episode in like 3 years. You've been listening to AI all this. That's right. We were forward thinking enough to make a whole AI program that would just record these things for us. So, you know,
all those things that we really, didn't plan.
Yeah, we forgot to program Will into it. That's why he's not here. I guess the cyberpunk stuff must come from the AI mother, right? And that whole aspect of it. And maybe some of the visuals too that you get with the look of the ship and the design and everything, right? So that's probably where that comes from.
Yeah.
But as far as the movie itself, I mean, it's a pretty simple plot, right? Like, I don't think this is one where you have to dive deep into the plot. Like, this crew, like we explained, is on this ship. They hear a distress signal. They get woke up because they're in like a deep sleep because, you know, when you're traveling in space, right? Yeah. You're not going to go from point A to point B in like days or weeks. It takes years when you're traveling great distances. So they're in like deep sleep because they're doing this, and they get woken up because there's a distress signal. They go to this planet, investigate, and they find like an alien corpse in a ship, and then they find a bunch of eggs. One of the eggs hatches a face hugger, right? Like, well, that's what we kind of call them now, but
it's what we,
we all know is just face huggers now, but like, you know, when you're watching this for the first time, you know, like us, you know, that's some scary shit, right? This fucking spider thing.
That first face hugger egg spider, like you said, like it's tense. Like, even though you've seen it a couple times now, of course, I've seen it 10, 15, 20, I don't know how many times. But, you know, those first few times you watch it, that's a super tense scene whenever that face hugger first pops out of there.
And it wraps itself around him. They take it onto the ship, and then we know that moment in the film is where they fucked up. Where Ripley is like, no, they need to be quarantined. Don't let them on this ship. And then the doctor or whatever, he's like, no, let them on. Or whatever. He lets them on, right? Mm-hmm. That was the fuck up. That's your moment. That's your fork in the road. Like, if he just hadn't done that, they might have been all right. Instead, we get what we get. But it wouldn't have been a good movie without it. So, thanks, Bilbo.
Yeah, we could just start the rationalization movie review thing where it's like, well, what do they do? Like, how could they not get to point A to point B like the shortest amount of time?
Maybe that's the new angle of the podcast. Is like, what would have made this not a movie? Well, I guess if they'd not done that.
Credits rolling.
Yeah,
3 minutes we got down.
That's what we need to do. We need to recut the movie. We're like, no, you're not getting on this ship, and then credits. Well, the movie would have been still probably would have been about 45 minutes long because it takes you a while to get there. You know,
Yeah, it does. It does.
And if there's one thing to me, I love this movie. I mean, and my rating is gonna, we'll get to that in a minute. My rating is gonna reflect that. But I will say, since that's part of what we do here when we're talking about these movies and we kind of pick nits, so to speak, I think maybe make it a little shorter. Maybe tighten it up a little bit.
I think the runtime is
it's almost
55
2 hours.
minutes.
Yeah, it's almost 2 hours. Yeah, and Lord knows you watch some director's cut
a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm not complaining. I'm just saying if we're gonna find something here, maybe tighten it up a little bit. Because there's a lot of like. Look at these cool sets we have built.
And man, they work so well though.
It does. It does. Like I said,
and I feel like you get to know the characters, each one a little bit. Yeah,
and because it is like we
how
mentioned,
their personalities are,
and because it is like
that is always the catch-22. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and because it is like we said, a small group, that is a big part of it too. You want to get to know everybody because then you're like, oh, not him, not Yaphet Kotto. Like you have to say his real name, not his
yeah.
Stuff like that.
I'll say that's kind of that catch-22 of that. Like whether you have a longer movie with a lot of exposition and character development, or a tight, taut movie that moves faster. There's always that trade-off, right?
Yeah, and maybe part of where I'm coming from with that is the fact that I have seen this so many times. It's like now that I'm watching it for the 50th time, it's like, all right, can we shave some of this off a little bit? Let's get to the chest bursting.
Speaking of that, speaking of getting to the chest bursting, I mean, the first time I do remember seeing that. I don't remember what year it was I saw this movie, but the first time I saw that,
oh yeah,
it was
good Lord,
it was crazy,
yeah, and it still holds up as like genuine, a genuine horror moment, right?
Yeah. That's definitely up there. One of the most iconic horror movie moments, I think.
Would you call that, like, at least that particular scene, would you call that or kind of classified as body horror, kind of?
You could, yeah. You could. Because it involves a parasite busting out of somebody's body. It definitely is.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I don't know if has it been categorized that way at all as a body horror?
I didn't, I just named off 45 labels for this one. They call it cyberpunk, but not that. But,
but that wasn't in there.
Yeah, you could throw that in there, I think, because, and that's what would you think? Here's a good question, I think. What would you think is the most, because this is such an iconic movie and has so many great scenes in it, what do you think is the most iconic scene from this movie? Like, what is the one thing that you're like, fuck that right there? The one thing that people talk about, or the one thing you remember? Because there's a lot. And that's a hard one. I know. Right? There's a lot.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, the one that we just mentioned, the chest buster, is iconic. I mean, the first face hugger, but I mean that's iconic. But it's not. It gets over. That gets beaten by the chest buster scene, I think, and then some other alien reveals later on. And then, I mean, the first time that the teeth come out too, right, of the adult alien.
Yeah.
When it's got Ripley there or whatever.
Yeah.
There's that too. So I mean, there's a lot. I don't know which. Yeah, for me, I guess it would be one of those two for sure. Whether the chest buster scene or stomach buster, I guess. People call it chest buster in this movie.
I think it's chest, because it's just below the breastplate. Well, I guess it could be. Yeah,
I know it's kind of weird. Like, I mean, later, like in the Aliens, I know it comes out. But whatever the case,
that's to me that there's a lot of them, man. It's tough, but that's probably the most memorable.
Yeah.
Like if I'm kind of boiling this down to one moment, that's probably it. And like you said, the teeth coming out of the mouth, that's pretty, like she's face to face with it, right? And then like,
it's like it's got the drool stuff, whatever come out.
I will say I love that chest busting scene. And look, I'm going to go ahead. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and call it now because I don't want to waste any time here. I'm just going to say this right now. Let's talk about the kill reel.
Highlight kill.
Chest busting scene. All right, now let's move on. That's the one. I mean, because there's some really good ones here, but that's the one to me. And it's, that's the one.
It's the lead up to it too, though. Like he's the one that gets the face hugger. Then you think they get that off of him and think, oh, cool, everything's okay. They got over that hurdle. That's cool. And then they're like, wait, what's going on? And then boom, and then it's the whole way that scene was shot before it comes out, and then when it is coming out. So yeah, I mean,
But
it's hard to pick a more iconic one than that.
No question.
And teeth scene is too.
But what movie was it that spoofed it? Was it Spaceballs?
Yeah.
Yeah, where it busts out and then like picks up a top hat and cane. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. That ruined it for me in a lot of ways. Because like even when I was watching this, two parts of that made me laugh was thinking about that, and then when the it kind of stops and looks and scurries away like.
Yeah,
that made me laugh. But I've seen it too many times. But still, it's an iconic scene, man. I mean, like, there's no debating that. I love that defense mechanism because they pointed. They're really good about pointing that out too with the acid blood.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He said, "Well, that's one hell of a defense mechanism," and then you think about it. Oh, fuck, it is. You're afraid to
what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Well, if you fucking kill it,
especially when you're on a spaceship too, I mean, it melts through the hull and that's it.
You're done. Yeah, everybody's done. But that is a nice little touch, to the atmosphere of everything. Yeah. That part is a nice little touch.
To mention what we talked about with Romulus, there's some cool stuff that plays out in Romulus involving that what we were talking about.
Yeah. I would think a lot of people's maybe some of their favorite characters here are. Brett and Parker, which is Yaphet Kotto. I keep mentioning him, and also Harry Dean Stanton. Those are two really good, iconic little side characters. I think for this one, right?
Yeah, I think they have good. What do you call it?
Banter.
Like you could. Yeah. They're characters. You can tell. I mean, they do a good job of acting and making themselves look like friends, and like this.
Great chemistry.
Yeah,
chemistry.
Screen.
Yeah, that's it. Mm-hmm. Screen chemistry. Yeah.
That and they give them some
scene whenever Ripley's down there talking to them and they're like doing the thing with the steam, right, and the pipes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
She's talking and they're like she's trying to talk to them and they're like the steam's going, I can't hear you. And then she walks away and he like turns the crank, like turns it off and just talking with her.
They clearly they're kind of the comic relief in this this tension, right? Like they give them some of the best lines, they got good chemistry, so like that's essentially what they are. They're the comic relief here. You got to eat. I guess that's the way they wanted to ease some of the tension of the mood of this movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a great movie, up and down. It's a great movie. I've seen it 100 times, and I'll probably see it 100 more. I mean, was there any other particular things that y'all wanted to talk about though before we get to our ratings and everything? I mean, because this is one where we could probably go on for 45 more minutes, but I don't think it's necessary.
It's I would liken it to kind of like Jaws. You don't see the alien a whole lot. It takes kind of different forms. Unlike Jaws, but it kind of takes different forms. But you don't see it a whole lot, and it's so dark in there, and it basically blends in with the dark. So you just have that unseen element of just dread and just it's man.
It's lurking and everything. Like what was Brett Harry Dean wasn't that Harry Dean Stanton? I'm blanking on their name. Yeah. Brett's when he's looking for the cat, and then that thing.
Oh yeah.
And then it drops down behind him, like you see the tail come down, and then you see it lower down. And oh fuck! Like just awesome shit. Well done.
Speaking of the blending in, I'm just so glad that they got H.R. Giger to do the whole design and even the alien. It just worked out so good.
Yeah. Well worth the Oscar win. Honestly, in my opinion, it should have had more. Like I said, I'd have to go back and look and see what came out in 1979. And I know they're never going to give a movie like this, Best Picture or anything like that. But
no.
It's just, this is probably, I guarantee you this, without pulling it up and looking at it, whatever took home the most awards that year, I doubt I've seen as much as I've seen this movie, but
yeah.
Without knowing what it is. For all I know, I just make myself look like an ass and it was Godfather or something. I don't know. But you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like these are the kind of movies that people watch over and over and over again. And that other one, some of those others might have been really good, high critic acclaim. But will I watch it for the next 50 years? Maybe, maybe not, But that's the way the Oscars are. Well, yeah, I guess, without diving into that, we'll leave that alone. I guess, since I nominated it, I'll go first. For every reason I've already said for the last, 45 minutes or so, 5 stars. Donnie, what do you say?
Oh, man. I would echo that rating. Yeah, 5 stars.
Tiana, what do you say?
5 stars.
All right, Smoke, it's up to you. Bring it home.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit overrated. I'm just kidding.
Damn you!
Not kidding. No, what am I talking about? Yeah, 5 stars. I mean, it's iconic. It's classic. It's like Donnie mentioned. Like, it's got that. It's like Jaws, but in space.
Yeah.
Yeah. By that, I don't mean just like taking the monster movie and putting it in space, but I mean the iconic characters, the writing, the cinematography, everything. That's the directing puts it in that league.
Before this movie came out, I used to want to be an astronaut. Not anymore. Nope. Not anymore. Just like Jaws fucked up the ocean for me. Alien did the same for astronauting. Yeah, there you go. 5 stars. No surprise there. And I've already done the highlight kill, so no surprise there. But we've got some other things that we normally do. Donnie, we'll start with you.
Connections from the crypt.
I didn't add any laugh.
Yeah, just let it roll. So we got on the cast side, we've got Tom Skerritt, who plays Dallas. We also covered a movie of his, The Devil's Reign.
Holy shit! I forgot Tom Skerritt was in that.
Yeah. Well, yep. There you go. And that's on the cast side. On the crew side, we have producer Walter Hill, who actually directed the very first corner we did, The Warriors. Oh. And as well as he's also tied to when we did Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight, and Tales from the Crypt, and All Through the House.
You got to, before we move on with that, you got to love it that you got Tom Skerritt, like a major kind of Hollywood sort of actor or whatever, and yet the only movie that we've done with him in it is Devil's Reign.
Yeah, I'm sure there's tons more that the dude did. It's a lot better than that, but
yeah,
we'll eventually get to picket fences.
That's
it. Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
That's the life of the Spook Show right there. That is the life where only we could tie everything back to the Devil's Reign, including Michael Myers. Tiana?
Yeah.
Well, it was all the crew members except for Ripley. So it was 7. Huh. And then if you want to count the face hugger, there was a face hugger death and then the xenomorph.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting that they actually ever, I don't think they ever call it that in this, do they? I know later on we call them face huggers and xenomorphs and shit, but I don't remember them ever saying that.
It's probably an Aliens. Because that movie's like 70-something years later, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Alien, I'd say.
There you go.
And then, the one wasn't even human. He was an android too. So.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so Smoke, that leads us to you.
Gore score.
Yeah, it's we talked about the goriest scene in the movie was the stomach busting scene. Overall, I think other than that you get really that's the piece de resistance, right, of this movie, or the money shot if you want to put it that way. Other than that, there's just some more, some alien violence with the teeth or whatever, but not anything super gory. Really, that's the major scene in here. But I think that's strong enough of a scene, it's coupled with some of the face biting from the aliens, second set of teeth or whatever that comes out a few times. I think that's enough to put it around a 7, though.
Well, fair enough, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean it's not a gore fest, and it's not meant to be, but what is there is strong enough, I think.
Yeah. Well, there we go. That's where we'll leave it for this week. So 5 stars. I mean, like, unless Will comes along one of these days and comes up with something a little less, this is going to be one of our highest rated. I think no matter even what he might say, I think that wouldn't affect it much. This is going to be one of our highest rated movies we've ever done here on the Spook Show. So, Alien from 1979. I'm glad we finally got around to it.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Next week, we're going to do a Spook Show spotlight. Now, this time we're going to kind of roll the wheel of fate, and we're just going to land on a topic. Right now, as of the recording of this, we don't really know what we're going to be talking about. But usually what Spook Show Spotlight is we talk about a particular actor or a director or a specific topic or something like that, and we talk about it. You know, they're usually shorter episodes than our normal ones, so whatever topic we decide to do next week, you'll learn as soon as you hit play on the old podcast feed next week. So you'll find out with the rest of us what we're going to be talking about. So, but after that, man, we're going to be cranking it up. You know, we're going to be cranking the dial up to 11 and breaking off the knob in spooky season, because from that point forward, we've got Terrifier. We've got Terrifier 2 coming out. We've got the replay of the Spook Show Awards, which we actually just did that yesterday on our YouTube channel, the whole live feed. So if you want to go back and watch the entire live show bonanza, that was last night, and it's archived there on the YouTube channel. So we encourage you to go check that out, and like, subscribe, all that jazz on the YouTube. But then before you know it, dude, we're knee deep in October. So we haven't got everything planned out. I'm pretty sure we're probably going to be watching Terrifier 3 when it comes out next month. So lots to look forward to. Hopefully Terrifier 3 is as good as Terrifier 2 and the first one, right? And all that jazz. So, but we'll be getting into that in a couple weeks. But before that, next week, we'll have the Spook Show Spotlight. So for Will, who couldn't be with us, Donnie, Tiana, the Professor Smoke, I'm Josh. We are the All-American Spook Show, and we'll talk to you next week.
As you leave the theater, folks, please be careful. Don't let this happen to your car. Be sure to remove the speaker before you leave. If you should accidentally pull a speaker loose, please turn it in at our snack bar or box office. Thank you.